Hey there, this is Atul from team K21Academy, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the four top level cloud providers from or as highlighted by Gartner's Magic Quadrant. These are the top four cloud contenders, and which one you should be picking, what the pros and cons of each of them, and a little bit comparison about towards end of all these four cloud. And then I'll give an opportunity to ask pick one of the cloud and we'll give you more supporting documents and more related useful document uh, or some free additional free classes on these cloud as well. So if you look at Gartner's Magic Quadrant, this is as of October 2023, which is also I think it's January 2024, around that time frame. So towards end of 2023, early 2024, Gartner's Magic Quadrant for strategic cloud service platform. These are the four cloud providers, which is Amazon AWS. In terms of if you're familiar with Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and if you're not, they create this is the vertical line is ability to execute by a particular vendor, and then completeness of vision, which is on horizontal line. So if you look at here, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, Google, and Oracle, these four stand for from a strategic cloud platform services as well. So the common question I get is a should I learn AWS? Should I learn Azure? Should I learn Google? Or should I learn Oracle? That's a common question I get, and that's what I was trying to answer. And I'll give all the four and which one should I pick, and I'll tell you my story as well, which one I picked, and what I would do if I have to do it again, or someone, or what I'm doing right now. I'll cover that as well. So first and the most important is from a market share point of view, from an infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, the number one is still Amazon AWS. They are again by Gartner um, from a infrastructure as a service and a platform as a service on a 13th year on 2023. They've been named as leader in that. So AWS is still a big market share on AWS, but and then followed by Microsoft Azure Cloud. And Azure Cloud is, in my view, fastest growing as well from a growth point of view. And what Gartner suggests is a visionary, both in terms of platform services or infrastructure service and platform services as well, but also AI and machine learning, or mainly for AI developer related services, AI as well. So if you're moving towards AI work, we'll talk about that as well. But this is just to give you a glimpse of. Now, more than 95% of Fortune 500 companies use Microsoft Azure Cloud. So this is just to give you that AWS and Microsoft Azure are neck on neck, very, and I think my gut feeling says that Microsoft Azure over the next 4 or 5 years will surpass AWS. But I may be wrong on here. But the main question is which cloud you should be picking based on your background. So these are the four options we have: AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle. So based on that, let's suppose you're a complete beginner to IT, or if you're a developer or working on infrastructure or data engineer, AI, machine learning enthusiast, pretty much all of them. Uh, Mainly if you're a complete beginner or beginner to IT as well, then I think AWS. Or if you don't have any preferences with respect to Azure or Google or Oracle, and you're not working any of those technologies, and you are work independent of that, I think, and if you only have an option to pick one, then Amazon. Now, why choose? I've already mentioned it's a market leader. There are a lot of job opportunities if you go to the job portal. Also, they have pretty much all the services, quite mature services, and they were the first one who started cloud, the whole term cloud coin AWS, and they're very I think the most in-depth, I think Microsoft Azure also pretty much same, but very in-depth documentation as well as good community support as well. So AWS I'll hold, and I'll give you my whole full picture as well. So that's Microsoft, that's Amazon AWS. Now, Microsoft Azure Cloud, if you're already working on Microsoft technologies, maybe you're working on Microsoft, for example, on-premise Active Directory, or you're working any of the Microsoft products, you use .NET, or you use more on a C Sharp and C and .NET, and more on a programming application point of view, developer point of view. Uh, then probably Microsoft Azure. So if you have inclination, if you're already using Microsoft products, then Azure might be. Also, why pick Microsoft Azure Cloud is I've seen a lot of security related things like Azure Active Directory, which is now Entra ID, Defender, a lot of security products, a single sign-on, federation, and so on. Those are Microsoft's quite strength. Now, Microsoft, as you see, ChatGPT, OpenAI is owned by Microsoft, so they have a Microsoft product around that side as well. They also have Office 365, quite heavily used, and they've dynamic. I think Microsoft Dynamics, which is their ERP CRM suite, and then also they're pretty good in Microsoft SQL Server. So if a customer is already using Microsoft SQL Server, then I think Microsoft Azure. They're also fastest growing as well as they're quite heavy in AI and machine learning as well. Um, and if you have a customer who is already implementing or already have Microsoft products, then it's probably Microsoft Azure. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Google Cloud. Google Cloud is pretty very strong on especially machine learning and data and very heavy duty or heavy, more advanced big data kind of a applications. BigQuery, they have a BigQuery and TensorFlow. Also, they're pretty strong in Kubernetes, which was, if you see containers in Kubernetes, Kubernetes was donated by Google team. They have a Google Kubernetes engine, which is Google Kubernetes implementation in Google Cloud, Google Kubernetes engine. So if you have containers and Kubernetes, especially Google Kubernetes engine, if you have a client who's using heavy on data, they're using BigQuery and so on. Then I think machine learning focused, very more advanced data specific, data intensive than Google Cloud as well. So if you're doing AI machine learning researchers, practitioner, pretty good in Google Cloud. And then finally, Oracle Cloud, which is if you're working on Oracle databases, pretty niche, or if you're using Oracle e-business suite, ERP, databases, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, Siebel, all the old Oracle systems, as well as Exadata Cloud, so Exadatas, which is engineered databases, data appliances, database appliances, and so on. So if you're already working on, or if you have a client who's using Oracle software as a service, which is a fusion application, they have ERP cloud, CRM cloud, and so on. Something similar to uh, PeopleSoft, no, something similar to Salesforce and those kind of a things. You have so that SaaS, if they are implementing those SaaS applications, they will need infrastructure as a service and they will need platform as a service. So that's when Oracle Cloud comes handy. Now, from an infrastructure point of view, infrastructure and platform as a service point of view, Oracle Cloud is not as huge as AWS or Azure, but they're pretty niche. And if you're working on Oracle databases, then probably it's a good choice. So depending on if you are working on Oracle databases, Oracle ERP, e-business suite, then you have an option of Oracle Cloud. If you're working on Microsoft products already, or if you see a lot of jobs in Microsoft Azure Cloud, then you pick Azure Cloud. If you are working on data or you're implementing some projects, if you have a client who's implementing project in Google, pick Google. And if you're complete new to IT or just want to move into cloud, I think AWS and Azure is a good option for you. I started back in 2012-13 when I was transitioning to from an on-premise to I picked up first Oracle Cloud because I was already working on Oracle and I had a couple of clients who wanted to move from an on-premise in here in UK to cloud. So that's when I picked up Oracle. But then soon I realized that hey, in order for me to become multi-cloud or to become best in what I'm doing, I need to learn multi-cloud, and that's what I'm going to cover in the next part of this video, which is multi-cloud. So we'll talk about that later as well. So what I want you to do is maybe now go and put it into this URL k21academy.com / which cloud, enter your first name and then your email address and select whether you want AWS or Azure or Google or Oracle Cloud. And then what I'm working behind the scene is I've already just finished a 12-day email series on or video series on AWS where we every day I'll be posting about or talking about one of the core services in cloud or AWS specific, which is about compute, storage, networking, databases, all those things. We'll be sharing that over the next 12 days or so if you picked up AWS. And like that, I'm preparing more for Azure, Google, and Oracle Cloud as well. So that's coming. So first, number two will be Azure, then it will be Oracle Cloud because I've worked extensively, and then Google Cloud finally. So go to k21academy.com / which cloud and so that you get some more additional free content and I need to also see how many of you are interested on which. We see a lot of guys. I think for us also between thousands and thousands of guys, majority still come to AWS and then followed by Microsoft Azure for us. So I want to know which one you are interested in. Type here as well. Now, let's look at the comparison between AWS, Azure, Google, or Oracle. What are some of the common services? And later part of this program, we're going to go deeper into these and learn some of these services. So from a compute point of view, compute is nothing but your virtual machine, which is your CPU and memory. In AWS, you have EC2, which is Elastic Compute Cloud. In Azure, they call it virtual machines. In Google Cloud, that's called as Compute Engine. And then Oracle, again, Compute Instance as well. Now, on the same thing, you also have a serverless version of compute, which means you don't manage the infrastructure, you don't manage about machines and anything like that. So you have serverless, which is a functions, which is AWS Lambda is an example from AWS. In Azure, you have function apps. In Google, Oracle, you have Google, you have a cloud function, and then Oracle Cloud again, you have functions. Now, containers we was talking about. So in AWS, you have ECS. I don't think it's EKS. I think I need to remove that EKS. It's ECS. Here again, you have Azure container instances, or this is if you talk about Kubernetes containers, and if it's Kubernetes here. Containers, if you look at just containers, there is a container ECS, Elastic Container Service. This is you have Azure Container Instances. I'll fix this as well. And Google Cloud, again, Google Kubernetes Engine, and then Oracle Kubernetes Engine as well. Now, there's a Fargate, which is a serverless version of your ECS and EKS. I'll explain you on ECS and EKS in a minute. But uh, when you manage the underlying compute, which is your virtual machines on which your again, I'm going a little bit deeper, so I'll not go here right now. I'll just say that these are services available. Otherwise, I'll go in and explain some advanced things which you don't need to worry right now. Now, Kubernetes can be deployed in an like on-premise world, but implementation of Kubernetes we call managed Kubernetes on AWS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service (EKS), on Azure, Azure Kubernetes Service, in Google Kubernetes Engine, and Oracle Kubernetes Engine. Okay. Now S3. So sorry, you need storage, and there are three type of storage. You have a object storage, which is in AWS, that's S3, which means simple storage service. In Azure, you have blob. In Google, you have cloud storage. And Oracle, you have object storage. Then you have a block volumes or block storage where you need them for virtual machines or for your databases where data is written on a block by block. So that's a elastic block storage, EBS on AWS. On Azure, you have disk storage, and Google, you have persistent disk, and Oracle, you have block volume. Now, you also, from a storage point of view, you can have a shared NFS, network file share, or shared file system, which is a file system which is mounted across multiple machines and multiple machines writing to the same file system. So it's a on AWS, that's an elastic file system. On Azure, Azure Files. On Google, you have file store, and on Oracle, you have file storage service or file storage. Then you have a networking. Networking is your entire, you have, uh, um, think of it as a continuous block of IP addresses. You have subnets, network divided into subnets, and so on. So implementation of that on network on AWS is VPC, which is Virtual Private Cloud. On Azure, that's called as Virtual Network. Again, in Google Cloud, it's called as VPC, Virtual Private Cloud again. But in Oracle, they call VCN, Virtual Cloud Network. Now you also need a DNS, a domain name service, which basically picks up a name and then convert it into IP address, point to IP address, which could be pointing to a load balancer or a machine or a VM or any IP address. In AWS, that's called as Route 53. In Azure, that's called as DNS zone. In Google, that's called as Cloud DNS, and Oracle, that's called as DNS. Now you also have load balancers. There are different type of load balancers. You have a network level load balancer and an application level load balancer. Again, as we go down deeper in respective module in programs, AWS Azure, we'll go and talk about those later. But from a high level, you have a elastic load balancer. These are application level load balancers. So you have elastic load balancers in AWS. In Azure, you have a load balancer normal. Uh, this is the naming convention they have. On Google Cloud, you have a cloud load balancing, and Oracle, you have load balancer. Then you have a connectivity. tools for connectivity from on-premise to cloud, which is a dedicated, sorry, on-premise, yeah, on-premise to cloud, you have a dedicated pipe. You can connect using VPN, which is data moving over the internet. But then if you want a dedicated pipe, which means so you can control or you know how much data is moving, what is the speed bandwidth you get, which is a gigabytes and 10 gigabytes and 1 or 10 GBs data, which is a dedicated pipe. In AWS, that's a direct connect. In Azure, that's express route. And then in Google Cloud, you have Cloud Interconnect. And Oracle, you have Fast Connect. Then you have Identity and Access Management, which is your users, groups, roles, policies. In AWS terminology as IAM, Identity Access Management. In Azure, you have Azure Active Directory, which is now rebranded as a directory services. You have which is Azure Entra ID, but you also have that's where you have all the users, roles, policies stored, and you can do federation, single sign-on, and so on. In Google, it's Google is Cloud Identity, and in Oracle, they have an Identity Cloud Service, which they are renaming and branding and changing it to Identity Domains. Inside that, you have your users, group policies, and so on. So, Identity Cloud Service rebranded and renaming to Identity Domains. Now, from a security tools point of view, you have a Shield, which is a service in AWS. Corresponding to that, you have a Azure Security Center in Azure, Security Command Center in Google Cloud, and Cloud Guard is in Oracle. Now you have a web application firewall, WAF, which is a software-based firewall, which basically can see DDoS attacks or SQL injections and so on. So implementation of that in AWS is WAF, which is web application firewall. In Azure, you have an application gateway WAF. In Google Cloud, you have a Cloud Armor. Oracle again, web application firewall. Now, you want from a security point of view, you want to encrypt the data at rest as well as in transit, so that encryption is done using key management service or KMS. In AWS, that's called as KMS, key management service. In Azure, that's Key Vault. In Google, that's Cloud KMS. And Oracle, that's Oracle key management, OKM. Now you have a lot of data services or databases. You have a relational database services. In AWS, you have RDS, relational data services, RDS for Oracle, RDS for SQL, RDS for MySQL, RDS for Microsoft, RDS for and so on. They also have Aurora, which is a proprietary databases from on proprietary relational databases on AWS, which is Aurora. They also have Redshift, which is a online OLAP analytical databases or data warehouse solution on in AWS, which is Redshift. On Azure, they have Azure SQL databases, and they have also um, uh, analytics. Synapse is another one they have, but also Synapse they have a unstructured databases. We'll talk about that again. Um, or Cosmos DB and Synapse. There are a lot of changes that are happening on database sites on Microsoft Azure as well as in Microsoft Azure, which is we'll talk about in a minute. As we go in Microsoft Azure later, we'll go deeper into these databases. Now, in Google Cloud, you have a Cloud SQL, and in Oracle, they have autonomous databases, but with that, they also have Exadata Cloud Service, Virtual Machine DB system, Bare Metal DB system, and so on. Then you have a for NoSQL, unstructured data, you have a DynamoDB. In Azure, you have a Cosmos DB, but you also have Synapse, Azure Synapse. I think they're promoting more and more Synapse now. Google Cloud, they have Firestore, and then on Oracle Cloud, you have NoSQL database. Now you also need ETL tools, which is extract, transform, and load. You have Glue in AWS, Azure Data Factory on Azure, Dataflow on Google Cloud, and Oracle Data Integrator Cloud Service, ODICS, Oracle Data Integrator Cloud Service on Oracle side as well. Just a glimpse of just to know. You don't need to remember all of them. Just I'm telling you, you can compare them. And as you go later into these respective, as we go later in respective services, we're going to go deeper and we'll learn all these in detail later. Just an understanding point of view or just an overview point of view. So if you're preparing for interviews, and if you hear these terminologies, they are not alien to you, or you can start at least make some context behind these services. Now, each cloud provider also provide now DevOps tools. So on AWS, you have code build, which is for code repository, code deploy for deploying the code, and then code pipeline, which is CI/CD pipeline you can build. Similar to that in Microsoft Azure, you have Azure DevOps whole platform. And if you're part of later part in Azure, we'll go deeper into Azure DevOps. That also has code repository, code deployment, code pipeline. All those things are in Azure DevOps. Similarly, in Google, you have Cloud Build, Cloud Deploy, and Oracle also have a DevOps pipeline, Oracle DevOps like in Azure you have. Now, in order for you to automate infrastructure build, you have infrastructure provisioning and configuration tool like Terraform and Ansible. But then each of these cloud provider comes with their own infrastructure provisioning tool. So like in AWS, you have CloudFormation. In Azure, you have Azure Resource Manager, but you also have Azure Biceps. In Google Cloud, you have a Cloud Deployment Manager. And in Oracle, you have Oracle Resource Manager. Now, for monitoring point of view, you have CloudWatch in AWS, Azure Monitor for monitoring in Azure, Cloud Monitoring in Google, and Oracle Cloud Monitoring in Oracle. And then for AI and machine learning, you have SageMaker, which is your machine learning algorithm, machine learning. You can run and build models. So you have SageMaker in AWS, machine learning service in Azure, AI platform on Google, and AI services on Oracle. And then there are other recognition cognitive services, vision AI, or data science for data science tools like as well. So this is just in a high level about these services. This is a pictorial representation. Later we go into each of these. We'll learn. I think you have AWS for absolute beginners, Azure for absolute beginners, Google Cloud for absolute beginners, and Google Oracle Cloud. There we'll learn a little bit later on these, and then later we are going to go deeper into each of these services, much deeper as well. So that brings me to the next part, which is which cloud, or sorry, multi-cloud. So make sure you go and vote on your which cloud. But then back in between 2012, like late around, I think late 2011, I started learning cloud, and from 2012 and that cloud helped me a lot. But then in 2017, 18, I started realizing that hey, multi-cloud is the way to go, and that's where I think I would highly recommend you to, whether you're starting new or already working on cloud, multi-cloud is the way to go. And that changed my whole trajectory. Started getting contract as high as 900 pounds a day, 1,000 pounds a day, and so on. So that's what we're going to cover the next part, which is multi-cloud. Why? Who is using it? What exactly multi-cloud means? Though name suggests very straightforward, but I'm going to recap this full, and then why you should be learning multi-cloud and who is using multi-cloud, what some of the use cases, and later parts we're going to go deeper into these. So with that, Atul from team K21 Academy, and I'll see you in the next part, which is multi-cloud.